Like that. जय श्री श्री राधा गोपीनाथ भगवान की जय, ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, जगत गुरु शिल प्रभुपाद की जय, समवेद गौर भक्त वृंद की जय, जय नित्याय गौर प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि बोल. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate kirim yat kripatamaham vande Shri Gurun dinatarinam paramananda madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna. Firstly, I want to make a few announcements. The festival season is back. Hare Krishna. On the 15th of November, which is a Sunday, it's Diwali on that day. So, due to the COVID restrictions, we are not having the regular lamp offering. In fact, even for singing, if you see, according to the government regulations, for our temple room, it can have only a certain number of devotees who can sing. Others will just be hearing. So that's why we have even congregation devotees. They are rostered for every single day to sing during the entire Kartik Mas. We have the temple devotees coming and we are not singing back. We are just hearing, because for the size of our temple, we can't have max more than 5 devotees singing at any point of time. So there is already restriction, plus there is restriction between social distancing between each of the singers, at least separated by 1.5 meters, and 5 meters between the singers and the rest of the audience, which is us. So we are trying our best to accommodate. We were discussing with Dhira Prashant Prabhu, and we came up with this plan of rostering 3 devotees every day throughout the whole Damodar month. We started yesterday. If things go well, which seems to be the case, we can continue like this forever until they relax the conditions even more. With the restrictions, it's a collective responsibility, as we say, and we have to do our bit to help mitigate the situation. We also have to follow the laws of the land. I know it will be devotees are so used to coming regularly to temple and offer lamps during every single day of Kartik Mass. We can understand how much pain devotees must be going through when they are not actually able to do because of the current situation of the pandemic. Nevertheless, you can still offer lamps through Mayapur TV. We are also offering lamps on behalf of the entire congregation also. We are doing it twice. So what we thought is, at least to start off with, we'll continue with this roster for rest of the month. At least we'll have a good 50 to 60 devotees who would be able to come and sing for the pleasure of their Lordship Sri Sri Radha Gopinath and Lord Damodar. And from December onwards, if this one works well, we'll continue to have that regular Kirtan roster every day. So that's the plan as far as Kirtan goes. This is again in the unlikely situation wherein the restrictions due to COVID is not relaxed further. Even as it stands now, we can still continue to sing Kirtan. Every day we can continue to roster devotees and they can come and sing in the temple. So that's the plan. On the 15th of November, which is a Sunday, we are having Diwali. Usually we'll have a lot of festivities. Last year we had even Rangoli outside, we had food stalls outside, we had classes. Unfortunately, this time we have to fit in based on the restrictions. So on 15th of November, we thought we will request all the devotees to bring their own lamp and their own diya, their own givix and lamp. So you can come, take usual darshan, go to the front, we'll have a standing lamp. So you pull out your lamp, light, offer it to Lord Damodar, Radha Gopinath and to everyone, and we'll have a big metal trough, you just drop it. Because the biggest restriction point is like obviously social distancing, and second is we need to literally have minimal, very, very minimal touch points. So if we have to go with the usual format wherein you come in, we'll have all the lamps actually assembled on a table, you pick up, but when you pick up, we'll be touching them also, touching the table. Same way when you go in front, you offer the lamp, when you put it on the floor or table even, we'll again be touching. We want to avoid that due to the current situation. So we are requesting all the devotees to bring your lamp. This is on Diwali, which is 15th of November. So you bring your own lamp along with the givix. So you come to the front, you pull out from your bag, and you light the lamp. There will be a standing lamp, so you won't be touching anything at all. So givix will go, touch the flame, it will get lit. You then offer it to the Lord, offer it to their lordships, Sri Sri Radha Gopinath, Radha Damodar, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra, Gauranitai, whole parampara. And then you come, you don't touch anything, you just go to the metal trough where we are going to keep at the side of the altar, and you just drop. And you walk out, pick up your prasad and you go. So basically this is the plan we have for Diwali. If that plan works and if things go smoothly, we plan to have the same arrangement for the remaining 2 weekends of Kartik. So we'll be able to offer lamps for another 4 more times if that arrangement works. But this testing we are doing on Diwali day. So on Diwali, please come with your own diya. You can't take it home either. You have to come, drop it in the trough, and you just walk out. So that's the plan on the 15th of November. On 16th of November, we are celebrating Govardhan Puja. So on 16th, we have Sankirtan Narottam Prabhu working with a team of devotees. They are planning to construct the holy, sacred, most sacred King of all hills, Govardhan, Giriraj Ki Jai. So they are gonna make the hill with all sweets and savories. Usually they used to make with rice, chutneys, so many different things. But this time we wanna do it with boga that would last for a few more days, so that after we worship Govardhan, we'll be able to share the Mahaprasad freely, door delivered to all of you. So on that day of 16th November, Sankirtan Narottam Prabhu with the team of devotees, they will set up the hill during the whole day. And we are opening the temple for darshan from 4:30 to 6:30 in the evening. And registration is mandatory. So please, we'll open the registration in another couple of days. So please register before coming. So and then once you come in, you can come take darshan of Giriraj, and then you can circumambulate once and then go. You just follow the decal, but we'll arrange it in such a way so that when you come in, you can pay one parikram around that. Depending on the crowd situation at that point, you may have to do faster. If there is less crowd, you can do slower. So earlier you come, better. Usually there's more crowd towards the end of or towards the closing time. And because it's open only for 2 hours, so if you come earlier, it's better. So if you are here at 4:30, most likely you may get more opportunity to do a bit more freely. So you come, take darshan of Govardhan, circumambulate once, then go in front of the altar, worship Shri Radha Gopinath, and then walk out. In the restaurant area, we'll give you the free prasad. You pick up and you leave. One request I want to make is, I know social distancing is very hard. Like in our temple, devotees understand everything. It's almost become part of our culture now to follow the markings, not to pay obeisances and everything until we open the temple fully, until the situation completely subsides. But we still see devotees actually hanging around in clusters in the car park. Our humble request, please, as soon as you finish taking darshan, you pick up the prasad. If you leave the temple premises, it will actually help, because we need to keep in mind that we have our responsibility, social responsibility also. So we don't want our neighbors to be disturbed. We don't want to cause any panic to anyone. So humbly requesting all the devotees to please cooperate in this regard. So please come in, take darshan, you register there. If you are registered already, you just come. They'll tick against your name. You just walk in, pay your parikrama visit. So you circumambulate Govardhan once. You go in front of Radha Gopinath, offer your prayers, and you please leave. Pick up the prasad and you leave. Humbly requesting devotees to follow this norm every single time, even on the normal weekends. So please don't stay in the car park. We know we are in extraordinary times. We know it is hard for devotees to actually come, take darshan and leave, but that's the situation now, and it is frustrating. We understand that, but at the same time, we can't actually relapse. We have done it so well so far for past 5 to 6 months. Hopefully there is light at the end of the tunnel very soon. So we don't want any lapse from any of our part. It's a collective responsibility, so we all need to. So please follow the norms. Pick up the prasad. As soon as you pick up the prasad, anytime you visit the temple, please leave the premises. Don't stay in the car park. Don't cluster around and talking to devotees. Please don't do that at the current situation, because with the social distancing in place, we have a certain maximum capacity for our temple, so we don't want to breach that, and we don't want to cause concerns, be it to our local temple, be it to our neighbors, and even for us, that's not the right thing to do either as dutiful citizens of this country. So requesting devotees to please cooperate. So this is on Govardhan Puja. We have opened the registration for you in our website, https://iskcon.com.au/Mahaprasad. It's open. So you can go there, you can register your name with your details, address and everything. We will freely deliver Mahaprasad of Giriraj Govardhan over the next 2 days. So on that day of Govardhan Puja, which is on the 16th of November, we won't be sharing Mahaprasad at all. Temple will be closed from 6:30 onwards. So you please go home peacefully, put your name, register for the visit, and register separately for having Mahaprasad delivered in your home. Come, take darshan, pick up the feast prasad, go home. The Govardhan Mahaprasad will be freely door delivered to you over the next few days. We are trying to get it delivered to your homes over the next 2 days, but definitely it will happen over the next few days in worst case scenario. So, but please don't hang around here because we won't be distributing prasad that day. So that's on Govardhan Puja. And on the following Thursday, we are celebrating Srila Prabhupada's disappearance day, which is 19th of November. We will be sharing the details where you can actually send your offerings to Srila Prabhupada. We'll be reading them out. Depending on how many of our offerings we get, we'll be reading them out to Srila Prabhupada during the daytime. That day evening around 7:20, we'll have candlelight arati, followed by the lamp offering for Damodar, as well as we'll be having kirtan that evening. So that's the plan for Srila Prabhupada's disappearance day. We won't be opening the temple on that day, which is 19th November, Thursday. We won't be opening. I'll go through it quickly. On 15th November, Sunday, it's Diwali. You come, you please bring your lamps. There'll be a standing lamp there on the altar. Light, offer, drop it in the trough. As you leave out, pick up the prasad and you leave. This is on 15th November. The next day, which is 16th November, Monday, please come for darshan. Starts at 4:30 in the evening. You can come in, take darshan of Giriraj Govardhan. You can do one round of parikram, go in front of the altar, take darshan. As you go out, you pick up the feast Mahaprasad box and you please leave the premises. Leaving the premises, again, reminder, I'm reiterating for maybe fifth time or sixth time. Anytime you visit, until the COVID situation totally subsides, as soon as you pick up the prasad, please leave the premises. Please don't hang around in the car park or cluster here talking to devotees. You can do it outside the premises, but as far as the temple premises is concerned, we want to actually maintain the social distancing norm here. And so that is on 16th of November. And to get Mahaprasad of Giriraj Govardhan delivered to your home, please visit our website, https://iskcon.com.au/Mahaprasad. The detail is there in the website as well as in Facebook also. The poster actually tells you the details. You can go there. You can register and we'll freely deliver Mahaprasad of Giriraj Govardhan that week over the next few days after the Govardhan Puja, which is on 16th of November. On 19th of November, which is a Thursday, we are celebrating Srila Prabhupada's disappearance festival. That day temple won't be open for public. We'll be doing the candlelight kirtan in the evening, followed by Damatarashtakam and the kirtan that will be run by the kirtan team. So that's the plan. Couple more quick announcements. As I was updating you last week, we are on the verge of rolling out our devotee care system. Madhav Gopal Prabhu and his team of devotees have been working very tirelessly, spending countless days, hours discussing about a proper blueprint of the model that will work for our yatra, and they have come up with that. So next Saturday, which is the 7th of November, we are having a meeting with all the congregation leaders. We have hired a hall outside because we can't accommodate those many leaders in our temple. So we'll be having about 60 leaders meeting there. So we'll be going through the whole implementation model for each of the different scenarios, primarily which we categorized into 3. One is for small groups, like Bhakti Vriksha, Bhakti Sangha, VSS, Bhagavad Gita class, so on and so forth. So that's one type of scenario. Second is for all the different departments we have. We have volunteer department, kitchen department, so on and so forth, the deity department, everything. So that's the second branch. And the third one is for everyone else who is neither part of who is not part of either any of the small groups or any of the departments, even a random person who actually walks in to our temple. We want to make sure that they are also cared for properly so that they can also take baby steps towards Krishna. So it's a collective exercise which we all have to do. As I said, Madhav Gopal Prabhu has got trained also on that earlier this year in Melbourne. When Radha Gopinath Prabhu came here and leaders from different yatras across Australia, they visited there, they got trained over 2-3 days. And then Prabhu brought that knowledge here, studied how we have been running our yatra over the past 2 years, and he has come up with the total implementation model in consultation with, it's not just him, it's a team of devotees led by Madhav Gopal Prabhu. So next week, they will first be educating to all the leaders, and then they'll be visiting each of the different small groups, and they will roll out. So there'll be a session for leaders, where leaders will get trained. There'll be a session for all the respective small groups also, as well as departments, where the training will happen at that level also. And there will be an ongoing training that will happen for the leaders, and there will be an ongoing meeting that will happen between the leaders and their respective members also. So it's a big commitment we are taking as a yatra. It will take a good 6 months to a year for us to at least get the whole system rolling fully. For us to see its effect in its full glory, it may take a few years, but we rather put the investment now in our yatra than 5 years from now, when there will be more devotees and more visitors. So this is a good time. There is a lot of thought process that went in. There are lot of discussions that happened. We brainstormed with the different scenarios, different models, everything. And we are glad we are in a position now wherein we can confidently say that, like, yes, we have a model that is custom made for our yatra, Shri Radha Gopinath's ISKCON Sydney community. Ki Jai! So we'll be rolling that out, and once we roll out, then we will then share more communication pack, so every member of our yatra know where they actually fit and they know who to actually approach for help. So that's the plan for next weekend. Now, in view of that, we were discussing this Sunday session. Today, I'll be finishing 29th chapter of 3rd canto. There is still 4 more chapters left, a lot more details in each one of them. I'm going to temporarily pause this series of classes on teachings of Lord Kapila. So today I'll finish 29th chapter. For the remaining 4 chapters, we will come some other time later. Next week we will be discussing on Damodar Leela. I was wondering, this whole month we need to be discussing about Damodar Leela. So next Sunday we'll be discussing Damodar Leela. And then from the following Sunday onwards, which will be Diwali. We'll have a guest speaker speaking on Diwali. But the one after that onwards will be rotating different leaders of our yatra who are working very close with the devotee care system. They'll be giving a series of talks. So every week we'll be rostering different devotees. They'll be coming and giving talk on Vaishnava Seva, the most important limb of bhakti. So how to take care of devotees, how to serve devotees, both from a philosophical perspective, from the different scriptures, especially Chaitanya Charitamrita and Srimad Bhagavatam, as well as on a more practical implementation perspective also. So we will be hearing a lot more on, we have heard a lot on preaching, we have heard a lot on serving the holy name. So now as a culture we need to bring in this mood of learning Vaishnava etiquette, how to deal with fellow Vaishnavas, Vaishnavis, how to respect, how to show compassion, how to care, so on and so forth. Now, because it has been done to a different degree in different areas, but we want to bring it to a common standard wherein everyone, irrespective of whichever area of the yatra, whichever group they actually belong to, they are all being properly cared, guided properly. Like we are all very fortunate, we are staying in the temple. And even devotees who stay close by to temple, they get much more opportunity to come associate with the devotees. Prabhupada always says that, in a share market, a business happens very easily. There will always be somebody to sell. So if you want to buy, that's the best place to go. If you want to sell something also, there are already buyer waiting. So you can always go and sell. So Prabhupada says the share market is always like that. Prabhupada says that to teach us that a temple is also like a place like that. It's a holy place. So whoever seeking association, they will also be here. Whoever advanced in their bhakti, they will also be here. So there is always that reciprocation. So Prabhupada, when he glorifies the need for having a temple in our yatra, this is how Prabhupada actually establishes the need, irreplaceable position of the abode of Shri Radha Gopinath, that this is the heartbeat of our whole yatra. So those of us who are living nearby or those of us who are living in temple, we are a bit more fortunate in that sense. We get more association compared to devotees who are staying a little far away. But with this system, we want to make sure that that level of care, irrespective of whichever corner of Sydney or even rest of Australia you are in, the care is actually given, different options are actually given, and devotees can actually choose based on their level of commitment. So that's the plan. It's a very important big step for our yatra. One devotee was asking me, what's the plan for celebrating 50th anniversary next year for Shri Radha Gopinath? We have a team that's led by Bhaja Govinda Prabhu who are working on that. Of course, originally we had such a big plan, and then when COVID situation come, there are a lot of things that are up in the air. We don't know how much of that we'll be able to do. Definitely we are going to have Abhishek, we'll have wonderful decoration, we'll have prasadam distribution, we'll have darshan open that day. Whether we can have the temple open completely for public, that depends on social distancing rules, whatever rules that are applicable at that point, we don't know. But I was telling this devotee, our biggest offering to Shri Radha Gopinath on his anniversary day is his devotees. If we can serve the devotees and we can give that pleasure to Shri Radha Gopinath, that will be the biggest gift for 50th anniversary of their lordships. So we are working towards that. There is still a good about 6 months. 26th May 2021, that's the 50th anniversary. So we have a good 6 to 6.5 months left very good time for us to roll out this Vaishnava Seva system, devotee care system. So if we by then roll out properly and have all the devotees come in front of Gopinath and they tell to Gopinath, they tell to Shri Radha Gopinath that, my Lord, my dear mom, my dear dad, we are very happy, we are very well taken care here, we are feeling very much nourished, thank you so much. I think that's the biggest gift which their lordships would love to have on their anniversary. So it's a timing wise, it's really good. Plus, because the operations of the temple is in a much more scaled down level, we can't think of a better time to roll out the system than now. There'll be a lot more classes that you will get to hear from a lot more senior Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. We'll be digging deep based on our realizations from Shastras about different areas, different quotes, different verses that repeatedly emphasize on serving devotees. What to speak of serving devotees? Like last week we were discussing how Kapila was saying of the different offenses. Okay, I'll now transition into the class. So last week we were discussing, we are in chapter 3, or rather canto 3, chapter 29, explanation of devotional service. We were discussing verse 8 to 10. It discussed about how we can offer devotional service in different levels. 11 to 14 actually discussed about pure devotional service. And the verse 15 to 20, it discussed about how one can come to that platform of doing pure devotional service. Verse 21 to 27, which we discussed last week, we were discussing how one can actually commit different types of offenses in the execution of devotional service, especially when it comes to dealing with fellow devotees, not only devotees, fellow human beings, not only fellow human beings, but also fellow living entities, which means any of the 8.4 million species. So we were discussing about that, and we were discussing how Kapila was actually saying how by taking shelter of this process of Krishna consciousness, we should elevate our consciousness to such a level that we'll be able to see each of the living entity as a part and parcel of Krishna, as the dear sons and daughters of Krishna, as a spiritual entity that is there stuck in that particular body. So Kapila Deva, after he explains how one should understand, even though externally the body is actually holding each of those living entities, internally on a spirit soul level, everyone is a jiva, everyone is very dear to Krishna, and Krishna, he created each one of us for a particular purpose. There should be mutual love, mutual respect, mutual cooperation, mutual care between each of us. So after describing about all of this, then Kapila Deva is now going to list the different gradations of jivas, because if the point of discussion is all the jivas are same, yes, but then we also need to understand but there is some sort of a discrimination that needs to be given depending on the different species of life that jiva is in. Why? Again, scriptures mention that discrimination is mentioned for our own protection. Like Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, we cannot, just because there is a soul in tiger's body, we can't just go and hug a tiger. What will happen? Yeah, Mahaprasade Govinde. Tiger will embrace it, swallow, eat, and it will go. So that's not safe for us. So there is a certain level of discrimination that needs to be exercised on an external level, that yes, that body is not meant for me to go and hug for my own protection. So that needs to be there. So in order for us to understand that that unity in diversity and diversity in unity, Kapila Deva is now going to list, this is Canto 3, Chapter 29, text 28 to 34. He's going to list the different grades of jivas. Very interesting section. This whole section of Kapila Deva, you will find most of the information not repeated in any other part of the scriptures, actually, be it CC or Srimad Bhagavatam. It gives a lot of instructions, like, even the next chapters, it discusses about the experience which jiva goes through in the womb of the mother when we are there for 10 months, what experience we go through. So many subtle details he gives. So this information also is very rare to find. So now he's going to grade the different types of living entities Not based on spiritual level, but based on the body that they are habiting. Okay, so text 28. Living entities are superior to inanimate objects. So if you take something inanimate means that which has got no life. So compared to, let's say, a stone, a living entity is considered to be superior. Living entities are superior to inanimate objects. O blessed mother, and among them, living entities who display life symptoms are better. There are some living entities like sea anemone, if you see, they look like standing in one place. There is life there, but you can't really see the symptoms that easily. There are two symptoms of life, which Prabhupada often used to say. One is growth and the other is consciousness. Okay, some living entities, they just look as if they are inanimate, as if they are stones. So compared to them, there are other living entities which move and they show the symptoms much more obviously. Which is like, let's say, tree. Looking at the tree, we can understand, okay, there is growth. But consciousness, we may not. But if you take an insect can actually show both. Growth also you can see. If you observe the insect, you can see the insect growing, or any other living entity. If you see consciousness also, it is there. You take an animal, you take a bird, there is growth also you can observe, consciousness also you can observe. So compared to inanimate objects, living entities are better. Among living entities, those that show the symptoms of life in a more obvious fashion, they are more superior. Animals with the developed consciousness are better than them. Now among them, living entities which show symptoms of life, that could be birds, that could be insects, but compared to them, animals with developed consciousness are better than them. Padma Puran lists 8.4 million species. Jalaja Navalakshani, Stavara Laksham Vimshati, Krimayo Rudra Sankekaha, Pakshinam Dasalakshanam, Trimsha Lakshani, Pashavahas, Chatur Lakshani, Manushaha. So this is how it lists 8.4 million species. Jalajal, Navalakshani, there are 900,000 aquatic species, so on and so forth. It lists each one of them. So if you see, there are animals there. Trimsha Lakshani, Pashavaha, there are 3 million animals, types. So they are considered to be animals with developed consciousness are better than them. So better than birds, better than trees are animals because their consciousness level is better. And better still are those who have developed sense perception. Some animals have a lot of sense perception. They can look at something, they can smell, they can taste, and they can see. Like cows, if you go to New Gokula farm, they'll go graze on the grass, but there is this one, it's not really obnoxious, but the smell is quite strong, intense. There is one particular plant with yellow flowers. If you see in the whole pasture land, the cows will eat everything around and they'll leave this flower plant alone. Have you seen it? Cows won't eat anything. They are very, very particular what they eat. Cows also, they won't eat some things which are moochy also. If one cow eats something, you try feeding the remaining thing, cows are very, very sensitive. So some animals, they are very, very sensitive to sense perception. Okay, could be smell, could be like eyes, could be hearing. Some animals are very, very sharp in hearing. Little sound you make, they'll immediately run. Or you take birds, for example, also, so their sense perception is also quite strong. But here, in the gradation that's mentioned, animals with developed consciousness are better than just an ordinary living entity that's showing some life symptoms, and better than those animals with developed consciousness or those with developed sense perception. Text 29. This is Canto 3, Chapter 29, Text 29. Among the living entities who have developed sense perception, those who have developed the sense of taste are better than those who have developed only the sense of touch. Okay, so then now among the sense perception, now he is going different ones. If some animal can only experience touch but it can't really taste, the animal that can taste is considered to be more superior than one that can only feel the sense of touch. Better than them are those who have developed the sense of smell. Now compared to those animals that can taste and see the difference, the animals with a proper sense of smell, they are considered to be even more superior. And better still are those who have developed the sense of hearing. See, Shravanam helps. even so among all the animals, that animal which has the most developed sense of hearing. And you go to New Gokula farm, when Kaliya Prabhu calls the cow by name, they will come. They can hear. Sense of hearing. So among all the animals, those that has full developed sense of hearing, they are considered to be superior compared to those which has only developed a sense of smell, touch and taste. Text 30. Better than those living entities who can perceive sound or those who can distinguish between one form and another. Now it's mentioned when zebras are there together, zebras have a certain pattern, alternate black and white stripes. By nature's own arrangement, Mother Nature has given that arrangement. Krishna has made that arrangement through Mother Nature. That if an animal which is carnivore, let's say a tiger looks at a zebra, the pattern is meant in such a way so that it confuses. Because when the tiger sees, it just sees the stripe, it doesn't know whether it's one animal or whether it's many animal. It can't see. Okay? So tiger, carnivores, they get confused, some of them. They can't really distinguish one form than another, especially if they go to see some, like zebras, for example. If there are a group of zebras, their pattern is meant to confuse, to bewilder. Likewise, you will take some animals that can easily camouflage, chameleon, it just takes the color of the plant. Sometimes it changes color to green, it changes to brown, changes to red, so on and so forth. So they do all of that to protect themselves. But it's mentioned, better than those living entities who can perceive sound or those who can distinguish between one form and another. So if there is an animal, he can distinguish between, let's say, a human and another animal. That is considered to be more superior. Dogs, for example. They know a fellow dog and they know a human. They can separate. So they are considered to be more superior. Better than them are those who have developed upper and lower sets of teeth. Like humans, among animals, some animals don't have a full set of teeth, top and bottom, like horses have, cows have, dogs have. But there are some animals that doesn't have a fully set of teeth at the top as well as in the bottom. Then they are considered, if something has fully developed lower and upper sets of teeth, they are considered to be more better. Better still are those who have many legs. So among animals, those with more legs, they are considered to be even more. Better than them are quadrupeds or four-legged animals. Like lion, tiger, everyone, or even herbivores you take. And better still are the human beings. Now comes the gradation in human beings. Open heart surgery. We get hurt when we read this section. One pastime of Prabhupada comes to mind. Once Prabhupada was asking, which is the most beautiful animal? So one devotee tells to Prabhupada, cows. Prabhupada says, then Prabhupada asks other devotees. So different devotees, so one devotee who is saying cows, he was saying in his memory, he was thinking, Krishna likes cows, Prabhupada likes cows, so it has to be cows. So then Prabhupada asked a few other devotees, everyone says cows. Prabhupada says horses. Horses are the most beautiful land animals. And Prabhupada says, when you look at them, they are walking very majestic, very muscular. Their body is actually meant for running longer distances. So Prabhupada says, horses are very beautiful. Prabhupada says, of course, cows are very dear to Krishna. But something to be beautiful to look at, Prabhupada says it's horses. So here, after all of these, four-legged animals are considered more superior. Better still are the human beings. Now he will say, among the human beings, next to 4 verses will mention about the gradation of human beings only. 400,000 human beings. We were discussing this before. Demigods come under human beings, demons come under human beings, ghosts, they come under human beings, among 400,000 species. And of course, we also come under human beings. Hopefully, if we follow the scriptural injunctions, Pashubir Samana, if we ahara nidra bayamaittunam cha, if we indulge only in eating, sleeping, mating and defending, then we are considered to be Pashu only. But if somebody elevates oneself to actually understand about the scriptural injunctions, to practice the duty of a human, then yes, one is actually considered as a human. Otherwise, till that point, scriptures actually mention clearly, quite heavily, that we are not counted as human beings. Prabhupada in one place is saying, when you follow 4 regulative principles, no meat eating, intoxication, gambling and illicit sex, then that will elevate you to a human platform. Otherwise, without meat eating or without following the 4 regulative principles, no meat eating, intoxication, gambling and illicit sex, Prabhupada is saying one is not even in a platform of human yet. And then chanting Hare Krishna will elevate us to a platform of being a devotee. This is how Prabhupada explains. Okay, so this is Canto 3, Chapter 29, Text 31. Among human beings, the society which is divided according to quality and work is best. And in that society, so in other words, if you take a group of different human beings, okay, some may be in one part of the world, some may be in another part of the world, some may be in one region, in the same country, there are people, I remember studying as part of our, Tamil literature in our school days. Actually, the people are actually graded based on, this is again, according to the Tamil tradition. There are people who live in the mountains, for example. There are people who live close to like a desert region, for example. There are people who live in plains where they do agriculture. And there are people who live close to, oceans. So each one of them, their culture, food habits, even the stamina of the body, the whole physiology of the body actually varies depending on different regions actually. So likewise we study in Srimad Bhagavatam also how when we are studying 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam also we were discussing under Vedic cosmology how the different Saptadvipa starting from Jambudvipa, Plakshadvipa, Shalmali Dvipa, Kraunchadvipa, so on and so forth. The people in each one of those Dvipas, how they are, each one of them, they are endowed with different, mental acumen, physical strength, spiritual prowess, so on and so forth. Likewise, we discuss even in Jambudvipa also, there are like 9 different varshas and how there are different attributes to the people living in each of the different varshas, so on and so forth. So here it's mentioned among, if you take humans together as a whole, one single category, among the humans, those who follow Varnashrama system, those who are engaged based on their quality and work. It's mentioned, I think we were discussing last week, if you take in Vedic culture, this is how the demographics is actually given. For every 1,000 people, there will be 1 Brahmana. We were discussing this. 9 Kshatriya, 90 Vaishyas, and 900 Shudras. So in any community, you take 1,000 people, this is how it will be. 1 Brahmana, if you take 1,000 people, in any 1,000 people, in Vedic times, there will be 1 Brahmana, 9 Kshatriya, 90 Vaishya, and 900 Shudra. Okay, 1 Brahmana, 9 Kshatriya, 90 Vaishya, and 900 Shudra. So Brahmanas are always very, very less. And among Brahmanas, those who are Veda Paragaras, who surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who have understood all the injunctions of the Vedic scriptures are less. And among them, one who actually takes shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's even more rare. Like Chaitanya Charitamrita explains, Koti jana madhya hoya ekka jana mukta. Koti mukta madhya durlabha eka Krishna bhakta. It says that Koti jana hoya, Koti jana madhya, Koti is 10 million. Koti jana madhya hoya eka jana mukta. Among millions of people, one person will be a mukta. Among at least 10 million people, there will be one person who will be liberated. Koti mukta hoya durlabha eka Krishna bhakta. Now if you take 10 million of those muktas, those who are liberated person, it's even more rare to find one Krishna bhakta. So rare. Which means to find one Krishna bhakta among 100 crore people or among 1 billion, it's so hard actually, or 100 million people maybe. It is so rare to find Krishna bhaktas. So among human beings, the society which is divided based on one's quality and work, that is considered to be superior compared to a society of human where there is no difference at all. Now among them, the intelligent men who are designated as Brahmanas, they are the best. Okay, so in a human society, that society with the proper Varnashrama system, that is best. And among those people in those different categories, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmanas are the best. Among the Brahmanas, one who studied the Vedas is the best. And among the Brahmanas who have studied the Vedas, one who knows the actual purport of the Veda is best. Srila Prabhupada explains about this when it comes to giving charity to people. There, Prabhupada elaborates on this. Somebody who is a half-qualified Brahmana, usually in Vedic injunction, if we give charity, whatever we give in charity, if we give charity to an unqualified person, in our next life, we will get the same amount back. If I give $100 now to an unqualified person, in my next life, I will get $100 back. If I give $100 to a half-qualified Brahmana, then I'll get twice that amount in my next life, which is $200. If we give to a fully qualified Brahmana, we get 1,000 times the benefit. But if the charity is given to Veda Paraga, one who has completely imbibed the injunctions of the Vedas and has taken shelter to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to a Vaishnava, then one gets reciprocated or one gets returned, multiplied, unlimited times. That's why Tamal Krishna Maharaj, on elaborating on this point, he mentions, especially on book distribution, we go give it to people coming from so many different walks of life. Only the devotees are distributing the books. And whatever Lakshmi, the recipient of the book, is giving back, they are giving it to Veda Paragas. Because the Lakshmi is coming for the service of Radha Gopinath only, for service of Srila Prabhupada's desire only. So that is why Tamal Krishna Maharaj says in book distribution, whoever gives a little contribution, they get returns multiplied, unlimited folds, both spiritually as well as materially. Tamal Krishna, His Holiness Devamrita Maharaj, he explains that the little money which they actually give to get the book, that gives them enough shukriti to understand the book when they open the book and they read. So in every sense, this is a Sankirtan, it's an all-auspicious activity. They'll get the knowledge, but not only the knowledge, but by giving that Lakshmi to be engaged in the service of Sri Sri Radha Gopinath, they will also be multiplying, or they will also be reciprocated. They will also be enjoying unlimited benefits. Today I received a call from an old lady where we distributed books a couple of months ago. She called and she said she first took Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1 and Krishna book. She called to update me that she has finished reading Bhagavatam 1.1 and she has started to read Krishna book today. I asked her, what's your favorite portion in Krishna book? She was saying, I really like it. We distributed this book in a countryside town called Majji. She said that Majji is a countryside town. I'm very used to farms here. So I like how Krishna is going early in the morning to herd all the cows. I like the idyllic scenes that is narrated as she is saying, as I'm reading Prabhupada's description of Krishna's pastimes, she is saying as she is reading, she could envisage, she could meditate on those details. So she was saying, I like reading all this. So I asked her, so have you started chanting japa? She said like, yes, I've also bought beads now. I'm chanting whenever I go for walk every day. So she's chanting her rounds now. All started with one of the traveling Sankirtan brahmacharis knocking on the door and giving a set of books. So Prabhupada always said, this is the most important form of preaching. Preaching means book distribution. There are like dozens of quotes. I was looking at it, there are close to about 550 or 600 letters which Prabhupada wrote on book distribution. So there are so many letters, conversations where Prabhupada repeatedly emphasized again and again and again on Brihad Sankirtan. So Prabhupada always says, what will your 2-minute preaching do? If somebody takes a book, their life may be changed. So when we hear stories like that, or when we get calls like that, when we see how their lives of each of these different fortunate recipients, they change, it inspires us so much. So here, one who gives that Lakshmi, so one who is actually knows the purport of Veda, technically called as Veda Paraga, that person is the best. So in a society where Varnashrama system is there, that is considered better than a place where there is no Varnashrama. Among the humans in a Varnashrama system, Brahmanas are considered to be superior. And among the Brahmanas, those who have studied the Vedas, they are Chaturvedis. Okay, one who has mastered four Veda. They are considered to be better. And among the Brahmanas, who have studied the Vedas, those who have actually realized the knowledge and put that into practice. That Brahmana is considered to be topmost. Okay, we have 10 minutes. I'll quickly finish this section and then I'll wrap up the last section. Better than the Brahmana, this is a verse, Canto 3, chapter 29, text 32. Better than the Brahmana who knows the purpose of Vedas, or better than the Veda Paraga, is he who can dissipate all doubts. Very important. One who preaches that knowledge is considered to be even more superior than one who just knows that he is not the body, he is not the soul. And better than the one who is just preaching is he who strictly follows the Brahminical principle. Okay? Better than one who is with the only realized knowledge is one who is doing prachar. Better than one who is doing only prachar is one who is having proper achar also. Better than that is one who is having both. This is how Sanatana Goswami glorifies Haridas Thakur. Sanatana Goswami says to Haridas Thakur, there are some whose preaching will be good, but their personal sadhana won't be. There are some whose personal sadhana would be good, but preaching won't be good. But Sanatana Goswami glorifies Haridas Thakur, you are the rare Vaishnava for whom both are good. Actually, I remember recently when Sivaram Swami Maharaj was glorifying his disciple, Shruti Dharma Prabhu, who was temple president of Bhaktivedanta Manor. He was saying, he was glorifying Shruti Dharma Prabhu along the same lines. He was saying, it's very rare to find devotees with the proper sadhana to manage. Those who can manage, they are not good in sadhana. Those who are good in sadhana, or those who can manage are not good in sadhana. Those who are good in sadhana can't manage. But he was saying, you are one of those ideal temple presidents who can manage very well and whose sadhana is also very well. Like that, Maharaj glorifies Shruti Dharma Prabhu. So here, better than the Brahmana who knows the purpose of the Vedas is he who can dissipate all doubts. And better than him is one who strictly follows the Brahminical principles. Better than him is one who is liberated from material contamination. One who is liberated. Prabhupada says, liberation means no meat eating, intoxication, gambling, illicit sex. Another place Prabhupada is saying liberation means no birth, death, old age and disease. Okay, no eating, sleeping, mating, defending. Prabhupada says in another place also. That is liberation. So, liberated from all material contamination. And better than him is a pure devotee who executes devotional service without expectation of a reward. So in this total gradation, Kapila Dev puts pure devotees as the topmost. And who is a pure devotee? One who executes devotional service without expectation of a reward. 33. Now he is going to re-emphasize again. Therefore, I do not find a greater person than he who has no interest outside of mine. And mine means Supreme Lord. And who, here because it's spoken by Kapila Dev, so here mine refers to Kapila Dev himself, who is the Supreme Lord. Therefore, I do not find a greater person than he who has no interest outside of mine, and who therefore engages and dedicates all his activities and all his life, everything unto me without cessation. Two things are mentioned here. One is no other ulterior motive. Second is without cessation. Avyabhichari bhakti, ananya bhakti, without any stopping. That without cessation, Supreme Lord really likes. So whenever I see devotees actually coming and serving Shri Radha Gopinath, some I have started recently, maybe a few weeks before. But when I see same devotee coming week after week after week and doing, I feel very happy. Because that particular attribute of devotional service is very much to the pleasure of Shri Radha Gopinath. So if a devotee comes and offers the either same service or different service, but comes without stopping, that's very, very important. Usually we tend to take a break from Krishna consciousness, from our service, but this point about without cessation, without stopping, without deviation, it's being repeatedly emphasized again and again. Be it Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, CC also. Even earlier in Lord Kapila Dev's instructions also we read that. Without cessation. So, without stopping, we should be continuously doing the service. Text 34. Such a perfect devotee offers respect to every living entity because he is under the firm conviction that the Supreme Personality of Godhead has entered the body of every living entity as the super soul or controller. Like how perfectly so repeatedly exemplified by Srila Prabhupada. When devotees asked Prabhupada about protection of cows, Prabhupada says, so one devotee was actually asking Prabhupada, so Prabhupada, we'll have all these cows, we'll get milk and we'll sell. Prabhupada says, whether cows give milk or not, never mind. Krishna said to protect cows, we are going to protect cows. Whether they give milk or not, never mind. Prabhupada is emphasizing again. So, simply one who takes the desire of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as one's own and tries to fulfill that for the pleasure of Supreme Lord, for the pleasure of Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada is writing in Srimad Bhagavatam, actually in 3rd canto only, earlier, 23rd chapter. Prabhupada is writing that just like how you can't separate life from one's body, like I'm alive now, only Bhishma Dev could do. Bhishma Dev had Ichamaran. He can just quit anytime. We are not like that. We can't separate. Correct? We can't separate whenever we like. So Prabhupada is saying, just like one can't separate life from one's body, similarly, one cannot separate the instruction of spiritual master and Krishna from the life of a devotee. In other words, a devotee is living, breathing, surviving in this world for only one purpose, which is simply for the pleasure of Krishna, pleasure of Guru. Okay. Brahmacharya Gurukule Vasantantam Guror Hitam. Hitam means for the pleasure of the spiritual master. That is the only goal of a disciple. Disciple's only purpose of living is simply to fulfill the desire. And to drive home that point, Prabhupada is saying, just like how we can't separate life from a body, from a living body, similarly, one can't separate the instruction and the desire of the Guru and Krishna from the life of a disciple. So it's very important to understand the most valuable purpose of our human form of life, which is simply to take shelter of the Supreme Lord. And Srila Prabhupada, and a bona fide representative of the Supreme Lord, Srila Prabhupada says, in this material world, there are two types of knots. Knots means, if you consider, ourselves as prisoners in this world. In olden days, you will see, people are actually tied to a big chain in prison. And one end of the chain will be tied to a big lead ball. Have you seen it in some old movies? Cartoon. So people, prisoners, they can't run because the big iron ball will be very heavy. They can't carry, it's so heavy. They can just move here, there. That's all they can do. So similarly, we are also tied to this material world, Srila Prabhupada is saying, by two knots, two ropes that is tying us. First knot, Prabhupada is saying, is avidya. Avidya granthi. Avidya means that we don't know that we are the body, we are not the body, but spirit soul. We don't know about Krishna. We don't know anything beyond death. So that is avidya. To come to that confusion about who we are, what we are supposed to do, what are we doing, where we are going, that is avidya. Prabhupada says that lack of knowledge will continue to bind a living soul to this material world. That is one type of granthi. That is, which is not. Second type of knot, which Prabhupada is saying, which is very relevant to this point, is samshaya granthi. Samshaya granthi means doubt. When we don't know what we are doing, then we think, what's the point? Okay, in my place there is a saying, for a drowning man, it doesn't matter whether the water above one's head is 1 inch or 1 foot. It doesn't matter. He's already underwater. So you will come across many people, especially with no introduction to Krishna consciousness, those people, if you speak to them as they grow older, they will speak in a very uninspired fashion. Yeah, what's the point? Body is giving trouble. Nobody is respecting me. Yeah, I invested there. Nothing works. You will hear all this pessimism coming because of that doubt. They don't know what is awaiting them. They don't know what direction they are going. Prabhupada is saying, so these two are the biggest knots which is binding us to this material world. One is avidya. Second is samshaya. Avidya is ignorance and samshaya is doubt. But Prabhupada is saying, but if we get the jnana through the proper parampara, through the proper disciplic succession, then it is possible, Prabhupada is saying, then one can immediately kick out these two. By jnana, one immediately kicks out avidya, because we know we are not the body but spirit soul. And the second point is also Krishna. Prabhupada is saying, Krishna is saying, I am God. Though there is no doubt. Prabhupada is saying, in one morning walk, somebody was telling to Prabhupada, what if Krishna doesn't exist? Scientists are saying that Krishna is not the source, but they will find some other source. Prabhupada is saying, where is that source? Prabhupada is saying, no Prabhupada, scientists are saying they'll find in future. Then Prabhupada is saying, no problem. Until they find, we'll worship Krishna. After they find, let them come and prove, then we'll change. Prabhupada is saying. So here, simply by opening the book, Krishna is saying, Sarva Dharman Paritejya, Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja, Aham Tvam Sarva Papabhyo, Moksha Ishami Masuchaha. 20 types of religious principles Krishna is kicking out. And he's saying, forget about everything, just surrender unto me. Krishna is giving knowledge also straight away. Avidya is kicked out. Asamshaya also is kicked out, or Samshaya rather, which is doubt is also kicked out. Krishna is saying, I am Lord, surrender to me, finish. So Prabhupada is saying, simply by sharing this knowledge with everyone, one can immediately be elevated to that fortunate position straight away, and one will not have any doubt. So this is how he concludes this section. My dear mother, this is verse 35. My dear mother, O daughter of Manu, a devotee who applies the science of devotional service and mystic yoga in this way can achieve the abode of the Supreme Person simply by that devotional service. That brings us to the concluding section of this chapter. Last aspect, he is mentioning about reiterating and elaborating on an aspect of Supreme Lord which he mentioned before about time. So the Supreme Lord says internally he is staying as Paramatma, but the same Paramatma when he comes outside in external form, he is saying that is time. It is only due to that time the wind blows. This is verse Canto 3, chapter 29, text 40. Out of the fear of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in the form of time, the wind blows. Out of fear of Him, the sun shines. Out of fear of Him, the rain pours forth showers. And out of fear of Him, the host of heavenly bodies shed their luster. Out of fear of the Supreme Lord, the trees, creepers, herbs, seasonal plants, and flowers blossom, fructify, each in its own season. So this is how he explains about time. Time is an energy of Krishna. It's an aspect of Krishna. One devotee was actually asking me this question. Last time we were discussing about how there is a sun and moon in spiritual world. But if you read Bhagavad Gita, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Natad Bhashayate Shuryo, Na Shashanko Na Pavakaha. That supreme abode of mine is not illuminated by sun or moon. I was just clarifying to that devotee that Krishna says that sun and the moon are not the source of light. Krishna is saying that supreme abode of mine is not illuminated. Krishna never said there is no moon there. Moon is there. But the function of the moon is different than the one that is here. Here, moon actually gives the juice to all the plants, devotional creepers. It actually gives the virya to all the herbs also. But the purpose of moon there is different. It's simply to increase the pleasure. So same way time is there even in spiritual world. But in material world, the function of time is that of destruction. Kalosmi loka shaikrit pravriddho, Krishna says actually. I am time, I have come here to destroy this whole world as the destroying element. That is the purpose of time here. Time is an element of destruction in material world. With the time, everything actually winds down at some point. Whereas the same time in spiritual world, it's there to enhance the pleasure of the Lord. So here, the time which the Supreme Lord explaining is the time in material world. So this is how he concludes this section. Subjected to the control, this is verse 43. Subject to the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the sky allows outer space to accommodate all the various planets, which hold innumerable living entities. The total universal body expands with its 7 covering under its supreme control. So I'll finish with this final verse. Canto 3, chapter 29, text 45. The eternal time factor has no beginning and no end. It is the representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the maker of the criminal world. Prabhupada calls this world as criminal world. It brings about, citing Kapila, it brings about the end of the phenomenal world. It carries on the work of creation by bringing one individual into existence from another. And likewise, it dissolves the universe by destroying even the Lord of Death, Yamaraj. So that's how this chapter is concluded. Chapter 29, explanation of devotional service. We'll discuss the remaining 4 chapters. There is chapter 30, 31, 32, 33. There is another 4 more chapters of Kapila Dev's instructions. We will do it some other time. But for now, we will pause this. Next week, we will be discussing on Damatar Leela. Following week is Diwali, so we'll have a class on Diwali. And the week following Diwali onwards, we'll be having different speakers taking turns, different congregational leaders representing different sections of our congregation. They'll be taking turns and they'll be presenting the most important limb of our devotional service, which is serving devotees. Namaruchi Jivadoya Vaishnava Seva. This is how Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he explains Krishna consciousness. We need to have taste for the holy name, Namaruchi Jivadoya. We need to show compassion for other jivas. Third is Vaishnava Seva. Without serving devotees, without serving devotees, worship of Radha Gopinath is incomplete. If we really want to go and be an object of pleasure to Shri Radha Gopinath, then we need to learn to love devotees, we need to learn to respect devotees, we need to learn to serve devotees. So it's a very, very important lesson. We'll be focusing more, and there are scores and scores of different quotes, sections of scriptures we'll be focusing on Sunday. So we'll take turns and we'll be covering on the topic of Vaishnava Seva. Thank you for your kind attention. We'll see you next week. Hare Krishna. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Shri Radha Gopinath Bhagavan ki jai. Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani ki jai. Shri Gaur Nitai ki jai. Samaveda Gaur Bhakta Vrind ki jai. Devotees in Mayapur TV, YouTube and Facebook ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Nitai Gaur Pramanande. Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.